Good day and welcome to CppChat. Before we get started, I need to read our disclaimer of the week. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of the pictures and accounts of this chat without the express written consent of Major League Baseball is prohibited. So this morning we are talking with Bryce and Jens. Jens, you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yes, I'm the organizer of Meeting C++ as a conference, but also the platform. And yeah, basically my job today is being an evangelist for C++ and doing community work for supporting user groups and spreading C++ information, block entries, etc. Through the social media and other channels.
So when you say as a platform, you have a whole network of user groups. You have the blog. You are very active on Twitter. I'm always embarrassed when I look at all the stuff you're doing on Twitter. I can't possibly keep up.
Yes.
Do you even have a Twitter, John?
Hey! I just haven't used it in a few weeks.
It was a legitimate question.
Yeah, he does for a few years.
Underbar John Kalb because there is actually another John Kalb that grabbed the Twitter address. So
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, and we're also joined by Bryce because he needs to snip at me when he can. Bryce, tell us who you are and what you do when you're not snipping at me.
My name is Bryce Lelbach. I work at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. I work in a hardware development group, even though I'm a software guy. So I do a lot of simulation, modeling, development of performance models. I work on this really cool parallel programming framework called HPX, and I help you, John, run some conferences.
That's right. And we definitely are knee-deep in CppCon because that is coming right up. I'm leaving on Wednesday to go to Bellevue. I think you're leaving on Thursday. Is that right?
Friday.
Friday. Okay, Friday.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving on Thursday. So.
All right. So we'll all be there. But before we dive into all the CppCon stuff, let's talk about the announcement from Meeting C++ this week.
Yeah, I announced this week the student program, which will bring 25 students to the conference. The details about this are many on the website, and also something I have not yet announced, but we also will have probably, it's not totally yet still a little bit in the making. We will have also a program for diversity tickets, also 25 tickets, which will be available through some other website. And I hope that this still goes into the making next week, or maybe I have to announce it after CppCon.
All right, so I won't ask you about details about that, but I do want to ask you some details about the student program, because you have an interesting definition of student. I really like that. It's a very creative way of solving what could be a really hard problem, because it's something we face, which is, well, because we don't have quite the program you do, but we offer a pretty substantial discount for students. And then the question is, well, who's the student? Is it somebody who's taking a part-time class? Is it what? So tell us about your qualification for a student.
Yes, I thought about that, and the one thing that bugged me when I thought about it was that I never studied, but I always did in that age already C++ since 1998. So I thought, well, I want to open it to generally to people in a certain age group, which are C++ interests. And on the other hand, I do not have the resources to check if you're a student or if you're in any other way liable. So I need to come up with one certain way to restrict this, because I don't want to have it like open for everybody. So I have to make sure that kind of something works out there. And then for this year, I've decided to put it into an age restriction, which is 18 to 25, and that will then be checked at the conference.
I think that's
currently is 38 people have submitted for this already.
Yeah, I think that's a very
So
creative
I
solution.
already have to.
Because as I said, it's really hard to know
Yeah.
who's a student, what standards you want to make. It's someone who's, they're a PhD candidate, but they've got a, some kind of essentially full-time job at the university. They're not exactly a starving student, but it's just really hard. And I think the way you've done it is a very objective, easy to prove, no nonsense kind of way to do it.
What?
Because again, people, even if somebody's not in college at all, if you're at that age and you're trying to be a programmer, then you're doing a lot of studying.
Why do you have the lower bound of 18? Why not just say under 25?
Probably have some legal liabilities.
This is 18. You're an adult in Germany, not like 21, and so I know that we have very, very talented folks also below 18, but I'm trying to not to really get into trouble with that on the conference. So I require you to be 18.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So.
All right, and so so for those 25, you've already got, you said 38.
Yes.
So
I have to.
How do you do it? You do it by random? You do it by random?
Yes.
Yeah. It's not by who applies.
I have to talk about. Yeah, no, that's. I probably have to talk to some people at CppCon on how to do like a random selection. I currently think probably STD Shuffle could be the first go. You just shuffle the group and then you take the first 25, and I think that's a good selection method. Which would be fair, but I definitely will publish the code as a gist on GitHub, which I use. And
yeah, talk to STL. He has a whole talk on how to do random. And in fact, I think we took 2 of them, but we had like 4 different talks this year on random.
This year we had like the CppCon submissions. It was like there's the regular like 25% of the program that's about parallelism, but we also had like 25% of the submissions were about random and 25% were about time or chrono or something like that. It was crazy.
No, it wasn't 25%. Yeah, there was a surprising number of random sessions, and then there were some. Although one of the time zone sessions got canceled, the speakers couldn't make it. It's sad. These things happen, but yeah. Extra glad that we worked out a way, because I think initially we were going to do one of the time zones and not the other, and then I think we decided finally we'll just do both of them, and that worked out really well since now we're only going to be able to do one. So anyway, so I know where we are with CppCon, and I don't want to bore everybody with all the details. How are we doing at Meeting C++? You're still. So you're in November, so you're about 2.5 months away, 2 months away, something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty much next week. We're like in the 2 months range. Okay. So far everything is going well, but it's also the time of the year where things are still quiet because mostly everybody is still on holiday here or coming back, and often it takes like a week or 2 to have the okay to go to the conference. So I think the really stressful time will start for me when CppCon is over, when I return, when I have to work first through everything which has happened in that week, and then people start picking up things in October.
Okay. So,
but also related to that, by beginning of October, the late tickets for my conference kick in, because I want to make sure that people who are willing to come to the conference buy the tickets early, because it's for me a big problem if I sell too many tickets in the last days, and actually I have the target to be sold out in around October again, like
actually
the last years.
We should have made that announcement right up front. I forgot about that. Today is the last day for CppCon to get regular priced tickets. After today, it's late. And it's a lot more expensive. I feel almost bad how much more we charge, but it really is a big pain for somebody to come at the last minute. I don't want to turn them away, but it's a pain for us. So we just thought we'll give people an incentive to try to work with us to get stuff done early. So yeah, today is the last day.
Yeah.
Is it announced on Reddit?
Last day for regular, yeah. Starting
No,
tomorrow.
I know. I was saying, did we announce it on Reddit?
Yes,
I
it's
put
on
something
Reddit.
on Reddit, and I put it up on ISO. I don't know if that got put up.
According to my math, we are at 897 right now. People registered.
Yeah, that's about right. We will pretty clearly be just a little over 900, which makes me feel good. 900's I don't know. Makes me feel really good.
900 is pretty close to 1,000.
Yeah. 900 is pretty close to filling up the maiden hour. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the luxury that you still have space.
What's that?
You have the luxury that you still have space, that you still can sell tickets, that you're not sold out yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. In fact, I've said this many times. If CppCon ever sells out, it won't be because we're successful. It'll be because we failed. We should never sell out. I always want to be in a venue that's big enough that we never sell out. That's my goal. In fact, I don't think it's a secret. We've been looking around for another venue because the lead time on venues is so long. I mean, we're contractually committed to be in Bellevue in 2017, and I don't really think we can go anywhere even by 2018. I think we'll still fit in the main hour, but we are growing fast enough that 2019, 2010, we would have problems, I think, being the main hour. So I'm starting to look around now. Because I don't ever want to be in a situation where we say, oh, you want to come and talk about C++ and you're willing to give us money and your boss is willing to let you go, but we can't because we're out of room. That's a failure on our part. So so that's why we're starting to look around. Speaking of selling out, you still have room in your pre-conference workshops? Because I need to figure out which of the two I want to. I'm going to be, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to be at Meeting C++ for the first time this year, and I have to decide which of the workshops to pick. The one is on Boost, and the other is
on multi-threading. Yes.
Yeah.
The one on multi-threading is already pretty full, and the one on Boost is also popular, but not as popular as the other one.
Okay.
So,
but right now there's room in both.
Sure. You still can buy a ticket for both. Yes.
All right.
There's still tickets for both available, and I have to see if any of them sell out soon. I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So the other announcement before we get to CppCon, which has been all in my head for the last week and a half. Let's talk about Qt. Yes, good idea. Qt just had an announcement. What 5.8 is now in alpha, and I don't know terribly much about Qt, and maybe we can talk a little bit about why we aren't not successful at getting Qt people to talk at the conference.
I know zero about Qt because I develop on systems without graphical interfaces.
Okay, so we're hinting that Qt is a GUI thing. Jens, give us the background. Assume we know nothing about it, and then we'll talk a little bit about the kind of Qt environment and why CppCon is not making headway in the Qt world.
So Qt is a framework for writing applications in C++. It's pretty much oriented to basically be a full framework for writing applications. It's pretty big in the UI sector, where it has two different options to do that. And I think two important things they announced this week. First, there's a conference about Qt, the Qt World Summit in San Francisco in October. And then they also released this week the Qt 5.8 alpha, which includes a new graphics architecture where they're taking the Qt Quick Stack, and it's now independent and from OpenGL, so you can use the OpenGL stack, but you also could use like a backend which is based on DirectX 12. And they have some other cool things, like they have like a light version of Qt now. They have a bunch of new modules for Qt, including Wayland, State Machine, XML, Serial Bus, etc. and also some previews, which includes a Qt speech module and Qt network authentication, which includes OAuth support as a technology preview, which I think is pretty cool to have on C++. And all of that will probably be a big topic at the Qt World Summit and also at Meeting C++. Like John mentioned, Qt content and Qt talks is it's not that easy to get. It's usually you get like a few. I had a little bit of content over the years from my sponsor Kalb. I've done some talks on Qt myself. I do this year a talk which is related to Qt, but it's not like meant as an introduction to Qt. My talk at CppCon focuses on modern C++, also what modern C++ is and what it's not, and how to use modern paradigms and to combine it with Qt. That's basically my approach to that. And it's based on the CMS, which I write with C++ and Qt currently.
Okay, so there's just a bunch of stuff. So Qt, an extensive framework. Kind of from what I get, it's because it's so old, and I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but it has very long roots. It's not really a modern. It's not what we think of as modern. It's but there's a lot of functionality there, right? And a lot of users. This is not a small community, right?
Oh, it's a big community. It's a different school. It's a different school of C++, and it's a different way to do things. It's a bit like we have the whole community from game developers, which are like, yeah, we're not using the standard because that's too bad for us. We have other meanings, and that's one point where I see that the communities which we have on C++, they're still separated, and we still have to do a lot of effort to bring that to get those bridges, and to let these people come to our conferences too. And on the other hand, I see that of course those communities, as they are so long, Qt has like a history of 20 years. So this is like really a growing community, and they have their own events, and I can understand that they spend their resources on that. And then Qt is based very much in Europe, and they do have offices in North America, but I don't know how big the market share of Qt along C++ developers is in America.
Yeah, I was just about to remark on that the fact that Qt is most of the Qt developers are based in Europe. There's both geographic and cultural boundaries to sort of integrating them into some of our conferences, and the C++ community, the standardization community, and the Boost community has tended to skew a bit more U.S. oriented. I mean, obviously Boost is an international organization, but a lot of Boost developers are in the U.S. and BoostCon was always in the U.S. And I mean, those geographic boundaries can sometimes be a real issue.
There's more to it though. But as I was listening to Jens, I so much agree. The parallels between the game developer community and Qt are, these are well-developed, large communities that talk to each other very well and haven't been talking to the rest of us. And that was what my goal with CppCon, part of it, other than just have fun talking to other C++ developers, but I actually wanted to create a platform for all these communities to talk to each other, because if we're using the same tools, and I kind of felt like the game developers thought, well, we had different concerns than they do, and there's no real reason to reach out, but we've broken that. I think game developers, at CppCon, we have some great game sessions. If you're a game developer, absolutely CppCon on the map. SG14, which is the game developer study group at CppCon.
But so at Meeting C++ this year.
I think SG14 has been very successful because Michael's done a good job of not making it a game study group. He's made it a study group that's inclusive of other people who happen to care about the same thing that the gamers do. And because of that, I think people from the gaming community are interested because they recognize that there's maybe other people not in their regular circles that they can take knowledge from.
And I think one of the keys there is the phrase low latency.
Yes.
We have 5 pre-conference classes at CppCon, and it is not even close that the most popular class is the low latency class, and that is not given by the best known instructor. Patrice Roy is great. He's spoken at a number of conferences for us at CppCon. He's a member of the community of the standards committee, but he's not really well known. He hasn't done a book or anything like that. I think he probably is pretty well known in the French-speaking part of C++. He's French-Canadian, but his class on low latency, that's got a lot of attraction. And I think SG14, that's what they're focusing on. They're not saying what is it we can do for game developers. They're saying what is the technology we can develop for people who are really interested in low latency.
Yeah, I think the low latency categorization is actually a really good one. It covers a whole bunch of domains that care a lot about performance and that care a lot about a particular type of performance.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of shared interests that we're all starting to realize that we have, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to utilize them.
Right.
Just as an example, I as somebody in high performance computing, I care a lot about different models for distributed memory access, for remote memory access, remote procedure call, stuff like that. People who are in the finance world, a lot of different trading platforms use shared memory abstractions in some fashion to store state from their systems. So I never realized that, and once I realized that, hey, there's actually a lot of overlap here, and that we both care about, adding new abstractions for memory to C++, and that maybe there's places where we can take ideas from each other.
Well, my point was just that I think we can pat ourselves on the back, and I've done it many times, about our ability to reach out to the game developer community. I think that somebody in the chat room, Funathan, is saying, some game developers just don't like C++ because they think it's too different from C or something like that. But we've made strides there. I'm not saying we've won over every game developer. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we're talking. We're talking. We have the community going. We have speakers that are game developers. We have credibility there. And I thought that was going to be a really tough nut to crack. And it's an accomplishment, and we can be happy about that. The other industry that I think we're making some strides at, but have lots of place to go, is financial development, the financial engineering stuff, which is also certainly a low latency issue, right? Part of the problem they have is that I don't think they're as much a community as the game developers are. They don't talk to each other much because they're terrified that they might, spill the beans on some technique that the competitor doesn't have or something like that. So they're really paranoid about that. But, we have a financial speaker as a keynote this year, and we have made some progress there.
Yeah.
But Qt, wow. We have one of our pre-conference classes is Qt, and I didn't do that because people were beating down my door. They wanted to have a Qt class. I did that because I'm trying to crack that market, right? And we've got enough. We got enough students. We wouldn't cancel the class. It's enough, but it is the least popular of the classes, and we just don't have many Qt sessions. We did have had a few this year, including the one that Jens is doing, but not much. And I'm not sure why. To me,
I think part of it. I think it's hard to talk about Qt these days without talking about the effective CppSpice, and CppSpice has been obviously the CppSpice developers have been are a part of our local ACCU group here, and they've spoken at our conference, and I think there's a lot of shared interests there, but maybe not everybody sees that.
I think, you and I, because we know them personally, they have a lot of mind share from us. but the vast majority of Qt users have never heard of CopperSpice. That is not what.
But I
What
think a lot of the Qt developers have.
You mean the people who work on the
Yes.
Qt framework?
Right.
Yeah,
because those are the people that we want. We would want the Qt developers to be involved.
You think they're staying away because we had a CopperSpice session? I don't. I think they're smarter than that. They know that
no.
If they wanted, if they thought there was a market here for their message, I mean, that's why they're doing. The speaker we have is from KDAB.
Yeah. I think one of the problems is that everyone is pretty busy.
Yeah.
And if you compare the models between Boost and Qt, you will see that Qt is way more commercial. And a lot of the very, very talented people in Qt are engineers which actually work for a certain set of companies. And they are already busy doing trainings or doing work for clients, so that they cannot afford often to be on other events. So
when they do go to events, they probably go to Qt events.
Right. If you look at that Qt World,
yes, that's just their socialization, and
you can just see the money on the website, right? I mean, there's tons of it's just the budget that Meeting C++ or CppCon operate on. It's just not the same. There are serious sponsors putting a lot of money. I mean, we've got some support we can be happy about. Google gives us a lot of support. Microsoft gives us a lot of support, but it's just not the same thing as when you go over to that Qt. So I'm not. I appreciate that it's a huge community. It's a growing community. It's lots of stuff going on. I just don't understand the wall between us and them. You would think that the techniques and things that we talk about, they would appreciate, and the things that they're working on would have interest for us. I'm surprised at how tough it has been to crack that wall. That's my thing.
And for those who are wondering, the Qt World Summit this year is in San Francisco, October 18th to the 20th.
Yes.
Right.
And they also offer Qt trainings in front of the event. They have this 3-day event, and the first day is a training day where you can choose between 6 or 7 trainings usually, which are either focused on things which are new in Qt, or how to start with Qt, or Qt has become very big in the embedded space, where everything today needs to have some sort of screen or several of that, and Qt is very, very big in with QML to do exactly this iPhone-like touchscreen things. But with very, very low level and open source requirements. So and you also can use it commercially. So that's one thing which makes Qt very popular currently in the embedded space.
Yeah, embedded is an area also where we need to get better at penetrating.
And also, John.
Yeah.
If you're based in San Francisco, maybe think about going to that event and having the live contact to the community, and learn something about Qt and who they are.
Calendar, but I'm pretty sure that I have a conflict in October. Oh no! Wait.
I'm hosting another conference on the 17th to the 18th, so I'm not sure whether I'll be able to go there. Although, well, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I actually do have a window there. I have to figure out how much they want to charge me to go. It's slammed between 2 different classes. I need to spend some time prepping for the class that's after it, but maybe I could go for a day. It would be interesting just to see it, just to feel what a conference is like that has lots of money to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of going to conferences, I'm the Meeting C++ this fall will be the first conference that hasn't been mine that I've gone to in a while. Kathleen is coming with me, and we're going to go afterwards to Prague and to Bruges. So Kathleen's got the whole European trip scheduled for us there. So
sounds nice.
Yeah, I'm I'm looking forward to it. Fortunately, Kathleen does all this planning, and it doesn't require a lot of work for me, and she finds really good and interesting things. So when she plans a vacation, it's one that you want to go on. So let's talk about
Kathleen being your wife, just for the
Kathleen
uninitiated viewers.
Yes. Just contact me if you need vacation planning done for you. So let's talk about what I have
unfortunately, I'll be busy after meeting C++. So
yeah, we could invite you along. That would be great. You could show us the highlights of Europe, because the weird thing is we were going from Berlin to, I think we are going from Berlin to Munich, and we're going by way of Prague, which sounded really weird to me, but Kathleen said no, that kind of makes sense. It makes sense. Okay. To me, it's like you leave the country to go from one part of the country to another part of the country, but no, she says no, it actually makes sense. So that's why she does the planning and not me. So let's talk about CppCon. At this point, we don't really have. I guess we do have still announcements, because we haven't pushed out.
Yeah, we haven't announced Herb's plenary
stuff. Oh, we haven't announced Herb's plenary at all.
Before we start with
schedule
CppCon, there's one thing I'd like to point out, and I'm waiting now for a few years for that this happens, and I'm very looking forward to having you at the conference, John, because this is like the first time you are able to visit like a C++ conference without organizing it.
Yes. Yeah, and it's going to be weird. It's going to be strange to be there. I did go to OSCON, which again is a conference that has a lot of money behind it, but that's a very large conference. I mean, I don't know if it has tons of money for the size that it is, but it's very interesting.
I did notice when companies organize it.
Yeah, they had
marketing is the main. Yeah.
They had lots and lots of security people. There were people at every door that checked your badge as you went in and stuff like that. And it's like, that's got to cost a fortune, right? I mean, anyway, so we still have to announce Herb's talk.
Yeah, I can
the closing panel. Let's talk. Well, first of all, let's talk about. We have already announced all of the plenaries except Herb's. So we on Monday we're going to have Bjarne talking about the evolution of C++.
Right.
Tuesday we're going to have Dan Sachs talking about embedded, and specifically considering C and C++ for embedded. Wednesday, we have announced this one, right? We've announced, we've publicly announced Jason is talking about programming the Commodore 64 with C++ 17. That's going to be fun. I don't want to tip away any of the surprises, but you don't want to miss that one. And then on Thursday, we're going to have David Schwartz talking about blockchain development for Ripple.
And then on Friday, Herb is going to give his plenary, which is the title is "Lifetime Safety by Default: Making Code Leak-Free by Construction." And I think we'll put up the abstract for it on Monday or Tuesday.
Right. And then we have some evening talks or events. The Monday evening is going to be Grill the Committee, which is, the format is the same as last time, which is we'll have committee members taking questions from the audience.
Monday is going to be this. Well, I think we're planning on doing that Wednesday.
No, I don't think so. It better not be, because we have other stuff going on Wednesday. Grill is on.
We should chat about that later.
Grill is on Monday. Tuesday and Wednesday are lightning talk sessions, and we are doing something a little bit different with lightning talk, which is that all lightning talks this year will be 5 minutes instead of 5 or 15, which is we've done in the past. And then Wednesday night will also be, in addition to the lightning talk, we'll also have a security panel. We have some people flying in. This has been put together by F5 Networks. Let's see what else. Well, Thursday night we'll just have the planning session, and then And then the final panel, the closing panel, we have not announced that, right? And you're just about to do that,
No.
Bryce?
I think I've said it on here once or twice before. It's going to be a panel of standard library maintainers. We're going to talk about developing standard libraries and what that looks like, what the future of that might look like, how features like ranges and concepts may impact the standard library going forward.
Okay, and you want to drop some names?
Well, so Marshall Cloud's going to be talking there. STL, obviously, the Microsoft STL developer, will be speaking there.
And my favorite implementer who's not currently implementing?
Who would that be?
That'd be Howard, of course.
Oh, yes. Howard will be there. Eric Fiesler, who is Marshall Cloud's counterpart on libc++. Billy O'Neill, who's one of the other Microsoft STL developers. Alistair Meredith, who develops Bloomberg's standard library implementation. And I think there's one or two others. I'd have to check my list. I don't have it with me right now. But
Webb is going to be
there?
there?
Yeah. Walter Brown, who's a member of the library working group and who's been on the standards committee for a long time, will be there.
So I'm really excited about this closing panel. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and maybe we'll get Howard and STL going dirty at each other, but I kind of doubt it. That would be uncharacteristic of both. But we'll do what we can to get them riled up at each other. How about that? Yeah. So so we've got a bunch of stuff going on. We have almost 200 people signed up for the pre-conference classes. There are 5 classes, so that's, even as an average, each class is going to be huge. And then as I said, the low latency class is very popular. And of course, Anthony Williams' class. Anthony Williams has not spoken in the United States before, so this is the first time to hear him. Fortunately, he's not only doing a pre-conference class, he's actually going to have a session at the conference. And I hope that people appreciate, he's spoken at ACCU, he's written a book, he's been on the standards committee. I think people know who he is, and I hope appreciate him, but I don't know if he's as well known as other speakers. So I think people may miss out and not realize until after he's here, and it's like, oh wait, here's this guy, we could have gone and seen him. So I hope that we have good attendance there. As I said, there's the Q class has not got a great enrollment, but good enough enrollment. But the other classes doing really well. That's the embedded class, the concurrency class, as I mentioned, and Michael Case's class, which he did last year again, which is modernizing your C++. So it's basically 11 and 14. And I don't know if he's going to have any 17 in there or not. I don't think so, just because of it was pretty full already to do basically 11 and 14 in 2 days.
We also haven't technically shipped 17 yet, given that it's,
I think it's a little bit early for 17.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I like to see how everybody gets excited about it, that we have variant and that all of those nicest things are there, but yeah. Just still wait till it's officially, yeah.
But seriously, implementations are not going to be long. We're going to have implementations probably before the ink is gone. And then we also have Sunday afternoon. We've got over 25 people that are going on our field trip to the Living Computer Museum. So, and then the big event reception Sunday night. That's what we're. Working, that's going to be, I think, a larger event than we've ever had before. That one, we didn't have a huge turnout in 14, and then in 2015, I don't know if the word got out that the food is really, really good. I mean, it's not a dinner, but there's a lot of food, and it's really good. And we are moving registration now so that registrations actually happens in the evening. And I was hesitant to combine those because I was afraid, when you register, you get this bag of goodies. It may have a t-shirt in it. It may have a bunch of other stuff. And if you are at registration, you're going to want to set that down. and then you're going to forget it, and then we're going to end up at the end of the night with 50 bags sitting along the wall, and we won't know whose they are, and there'll be T-shirts in them, and it'll just be a mess. And so that's why I hesitated to put reception and registration together. Although Sarah, who I work with at the Maidenbauer, she's our Maidenbauer representative, she said you should put them together. That way people don't have to make 2 separate trips, and And finally I realized, you know what? Let's just break up registration. So when you show up, you'll get your badge, you'll go into the reception, and you get the rest of your registration when you leave. So that's the plan. Is that we will not require you to carry a bag around all the time you're at the reception. So so that's how we're going to handle that. And then I think most of the other things. Oh, the other big change is that we have expanded the conference just a little bit. On Monday and Tuesday, we will have 7 tracks instead of 6. We have just a few more sessions than we had in the past. We deliberately don't. I've always referred to CppCon as a 6-track conference, but we have by design never filled all 6 tracks. Not that we couldn't. It's that I always like to have a few empty spaces just in case, right? So if a session fails due to a hardware failure or something else, we can say, well, we have an empty space on Thursday afternoon. Why don't you just give it again on Thursday afternoon, or whatever. I always wanted to that.
Yeah, or if like Chandler forgets to submit his talk or something like that nature.
Well, I kind of was hoping, because I talked to Eric Niebler and said, you didn't submit a talk this year. And he said, well, I don't really have anything to talk about. And I was thinking, yeah, well, I'm going to have an empty space for you, Eric. And when you send me an email in August saying, John, I've been thinking about, there will be a spot for you, Eric. But that didn't happen. At least it hasn't happened yet. I would be really surprised if he calls me this week and says, let's fit you in. But anyway, the point is, but this year, if we hadn't added the 7th track on Monday and Tuesday, we really wouldn't have had any extra spaces. We completely filled 6 tracks. And so we will have a 6th track or a 7th track on those 2 days. And the reason, and the problem that we have, the reason I'm starting to look for a larger venue is that our largest track is now going to be in the plenary hall. So the same place where we gather everybody together for the keynotes and the plenary talks is also going to be used as the largest of our breakout spaces. And I kind of was resistant because I wanted to keep that as kind of a special place, but
well, maybe we shouldn't have made the conference so popular then, John.
Yeah.
I don't think we're allowed to complain when we have to use the plenary room because we have so many people at the conference.
Yeah. No, I'm pleased. I'm pleased at the growth. I am not pleased that the Maidenbauer has already for next year given away the other side of the exhibit hall, so we can only have half of the exhibit hall next year. That's painful because I would like to have had that. But okay, we will deal. What else is going on with the conference that we need to talk about? We have, the new lightning talks will be only 5 minutes instead of 5 or 15 was the options last year. Posters. So on Sunday night, during the reception, we will have 4 posters, and they're in competition with each other. When you register, you'll get 2 tickets, and you can vote both tickets for the same poster, or you can vote 1 ticket for 2 posters. And then on Monday, over lunch, there's a poster jury made up of, let's see if I can remember them all, Jason Turner, Michael Case, and I think Joel Falco are the poster jurors, and they're going to look at all 4 posters. And so there will be a winning poster that gets the jury prize, and a winning poster that gets the attendee prize. And we will announce those. I think those are going to be announced on Thursday. I need to coordinate that. But anyway, so that's a new addition to the conference. I have never done a conference with posters before. I know that's old hat for Bryce. Jens, have you ever done posters or thought about doing posters?
No, I think that's a very American thing, or maybe a very fancy thing, and I have no plans to. If a volunteer wants to organize this, maybe.
Yeah.
But I'm
Bryce
looking
knows
forward to
about posters.
looking
Very
at the
academic,
posters
right?
at CppCon.
Yeah, it's a very academic conference thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no idea really what to expect. I mean, I even saw the poster proposals, and I still don't know what I'm going to see.
I would expect posters printed out on about this large by this large with text and figures and code examples and names at the top.
Okay, so one of the poster presenters has requested a monitor because his poster is about a piece of software and he wants to show people the software running.
That's not how posters work.
Isn't this cheating?
That's not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's not how posters work.
But we'll see.
You
Anyway.
don't need a computer to explain how software works.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe I make a poster STD vector for the movie.
You gotta use the processor up here and like the compiler up here.
yeah. Okay. So, oh wow.
But you always have to try stuff, and
it's
some
definitely
things
so
work,
crazy.
some things don't. So I'm looking forward to that part of CppCon definitely.
So what is what? Tell us about a poster that you thought was a really good poster that had to do with C++.
Well, all of my posters, obviously.
Well, tell us about the posters you got.
I have a funny story about an email that I got just earlier. So anytime I write an academic paper, this is off topic, but I don't care. Anytime I write an academic paper or an academic poster or anything, I always don't hesitate to throw some C++ references in there or to show people code. Like this can be a very taboo thing in computer science. Like, what? There's code in your paper? There's not supposed to be code in your paper. So I sent a paper out to this paper. I sent out a copy of it for review to one of my colleagues, and they sent me back an email saying there was like only one comment where they were like, everything looks good except for, this is a little hard to show, but there was this snippet of code here, and I didn't understand what it was. And the snippet, the part they didn't understand was like the auto const m equals something. It was like just like auto, and my reply back was like, "That's good. That's all I wanted. It was just like for you to see something you're not familiar with, so you can go and Google it and learn more about modern programming."
Google it. You mean Stack Overflow it?
So my colleagues asked me how I was doing the timings in this particular paper, and I told them, well, I'm using std chrono, and they were like, well, why aren't you using like OMP get wtime? And my reply was, well, because I write C++ code, so I'm using std chrono.
Because it's in the standard library.
Yes.
All right. So I noticed there's a question here on the. Maybe there's a few questions. I haven't really been paying as much attention as I should on the chat room. So somebody asks about the deadline for open content and lightning talks. Hi, Jackie. So those deadlines have not passed and effectively do not pass. The deadline is passed when the conference is over. Obviously, the sooner you get stuff in, the better, the more choices you have about when it could be. If you submit on Monday, it's not going to be scheduled for Monday, right? So get things in, but effectively there is no real deadline for open content because we have, as I say, 6 or 7 tracks. We have never had 6 or 7 open content sessions at the same time. If we did, we would find room for them, right? So we've never turned anybody down for that. Lightning talks we have turned people down for, only because we completely filled every available moment and we just couldn't schedule on a track.
We could literally run lightning talks 24 hours a day for the entire week of CppCon, and we would have plenty of and we would still have to turn people away.
Okay, that's an exaggeration, but yes.
I don't think it is.
We have.
I only submitted 2 this year.
What's that?
I only submitted 2 lightning talks this year.
So we have 2 sessions, Tuesday night and Wednesday night. However, they almost certainly will fill because we can, even at 5 minutes apiece, we can only do about 10 an hour. And so, so they will fill. And then we'll say, oh, what are we going to do now? Well, we'll put some over lunch and we'll put some at 8 o'clock in the morning before the conference. And that's just, that's what's going to happen. The sooner you get your lightning talk in, the better chance you have of getting a prime spot like Tuesday or Wednesday night. So that's the answer to the deadlines. Was there other questions? Will the classes also be recorded or only the talks? Classes will not be recorded. Only the talks, and even then, only regular program talks. Open content talks will not be recorded, but lightning talks, which are in the open content time, we will record all of those. Any other questions here? You've already answered all these questions, I see. Okay.
I did. I'm good at that.
I just wanted to, well, I was a little distracted.
I also spent some amount of time harassing Jackie on IRC.
Bang Bang Con is an entire conference of lightning talks. So, but they aren't running 24 hours, so that's not what Bryce.
I'm just saying. I think it would be viable.
I assume this Jackie is Jackie K.
Well,
right?
Of course. Do we know another Jackie, John?
Well, I don't know. Yes, I know other Jackies. I just don't know any other Jackies, I guess, that are C++ programmers. We should say Jackie is in charge of our student program. It's not quite like Jens because we do charge people to have student tickets, but we're happy to have students. We haven't seen a whole lot of, hi Jackie, smile for Jackie. We haven't seen a lot of growth in this area. In fact, I think in the last 2 years we had exactly the same number of students, which kind of surprised me because almost everything else about the conference has grown except the number of students. So I don't know what's going on there. But part of it is we're looking for ideas about how what should be in the student program. We do try to get the students to talk to each other. We have a mailing list for them. We do treat them to dinner one night. We have had some special student-focused content, but not very much. And so I think we're kind of open to ideas about what is it that would be valuable to students at CppCon. And so certainly open to those ideas. We'll explore those more going forward. Do you do anything special for students at the conference other than the special program that lets them come?
No. We had a workshop for students, but that was done by ThinkTel, and I'm looking for a sponsor. If a sponsor wants to organize that, we would have that, and otherwise we will not have that. Yeah, it's one of the things I just, there's no funding for that, and there's no really resources to do that for me. So if some sponsor wants to take that over, I'm happy to do that, and otherwise not.
Yeah. So one thing that I have thought about, get you guys' responses to this. Our classes, as I said, were pretty successful this year. Should we think about post-conference classes? Should we do 2-day classes after the conference as well?
All sufficiently large conferences have like satellite conferences, like little children that are attached onto them. So yeah, of course we should. We should have stuff after the conference. We should have stuff before the conference. We should have workshops too. We should have all sorts of stuff like this.
All right. So what would be a workshop that we should have?
Well, so the way that most conferences do workshops is, so like, as an example, I'll give the supercomputing conference. So the supercomputing conference, they'll put out calls for various different types of submissions. So they'll put out a call for workshops. They'll put out calls for regular session submissions, for lightning sessions, for stuff like that. But so you solicit, the community, say, who wants to run a workshop for us?
Okay. And then we just find out who does, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, is a workshop is a workshop essentially a class then, or is it a working session? I mean, would we expect to see maybe people who want to get together and talk about HPX and actually want to work on HPX.
So most academic workshops at a conference will have their own submission process, and it'll be like they'll have sessions, but it'll have a different focus. Usually they'll have a deadline that's after the regular conference, but normally it's like some people give talks. I mean, but really it could be. I think for something like CppCon, I'd be completely open to what a workshop could be. I think the community would probably surprise us. Maybe somebody from the gaming community would want to do like a one-day thing dedicated to gaming, and maybe they would be able to bring in people that we wouldn't be able to because you and I aren't, people within the gaming community.
Yeah.
So that's what I sort of think. Like just sort of a broad invitation for submissions and see what we get.
Okay. Well, I did do, so the history on courses at CppCon is that last year, I had always wanted to do courses, partly because, as Bryce said, every sufficiently large and successful conference has kind of satellites. And so I knew that at one point we would have classes. But I didn't think we were quite there yet. But last year, the idea came up on the planning committee, and it was kind of, everybody thought, well, let's do it. And it's like, okay. So I had wanted to do a formal request for proposals on classes, and there just wasn't time to do that. And so we restricted it to people who were on the planning committee, which essentially was Michael Case and Kate and James. Kate and James were going to do one class, and Michael was going to do another. But Kate and James basically decided they couldn't get it together in time, so it was just Michael. So we did one pre-conference class, and that was it. But this year, I did, in fact, throw out a formal request for proposal on the classes, and we got 6. Unfortunately, Kate, again, for a completely different reason, had to withdraw, so we end up with 5 classes. And I guess next year, well, I will say we're interested in pre-conference proposals as well as post-conference proposals. And if somebody has the stamina to do a 2-day class and then a 5-day conference and then another 2-day class, they can do both. Or if they say, look, let's just do one or the other, and we'll see. I can assure you that the hotels will be happy to have us there on the weekend. Bellevue is a business community, so during the week they sell out almost every day. They will sell out, but on the weekends they have a lot of capacity. And if I told them, oh, we want to do some 2-day classes on the weekend after the conference, they would be delighted to have us there. Yeah.
I was just going to say, to give you an example on the workshop point, something that wouldn't be a class, but to have like a day like on expression templates, which is something that's like a very specific area, not something that would be in the regular session, but have like, some people submit talks for that to a special little separate group for just like a day after, the day before the conference, something like that.
Well, maybe we'll find a community. Most of the communities we know of have their own conferences. LLVM has their conference, Boost has theirs, but there might be something that's not quite large enough they want to have their own conference, but they might want to have a 1-day conference at CppCon. There might be a library that we don't think too much about. I wanted to say, we're almost out of time. I wanted to say something about MAME. We forgot entirely to talk about CppCast, and of course, the biggest thing that the CppChat does is to leverage off of whatever CppCast does. They do all the hard work, and then we talk about it. But they had the developer on, and let me get his name if I can. What's his name?
Yeah. They spoke this week about the MAME framework, which just has switched from C to C++.
Yes. He proposed this. And he's doing a talk at CppCon, right? And his proposal was about MAME and about how it's a very old library, and they decided a while back that they were going to make the switch from C to C++, and he was going to talk about why they did it and what success they've had. And this was one of the talks that I was assigned to review as on the program committee. So I read the description and everything, and it sounded kind of interesting. But of course, this is a guy I never heard of, and he has this funny name, so there might be a language problem. So I decided, well, let's watch the video. He had, so I listened to his videos. I'm watching his video, and I find out the most important, interesting thing about the whole talk, and he didn't mention it in the abstract or the title or anything. He starts his talk, and I realize MAME, it's a video game emulator. This is a video game player, and he didn't mention that anywhere. And nobody else on the program committee who was reviewing his stuff realized this is going to be a fun talk. He's talking about video game emulation. It completely changed. So I immediately contacted him and said, I'm sorry, we have to change your abstract. We cannot have you submit this talk the way you've submitted it. So I think his assumption was just, everybody's heard of MAME, right? Everybody knows what it is. And I can see if you really work on one thing, you just kind of assume everybody knows that. Every once in a while, I'll meet a C++ programmer who's never heard of CppCon, and it's like, what? Really?
Yeah,
I spend every waking moment thinking about CppCon, and you've never heard of it?
This happens all the time. I was giving a talk to some people who work in a different division at my lab, and I got like 30 minutes into the talk, and somebody asked what a cache line is, and like if you didn't know what a cache line was, the first 30 minutes of the conversation was completely invalidated. But I would have never thought that to explain something that in my particular domain is very, a very basic thing. So yeah, I mean, I completely understand why he did that.
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons why you really, really want to run your proposals and your talks and stuff like that by other people, because there will be things that, and you don't mean to be exclusionary or anything like that, but you use this term that you just assume everybody knows. Oh, well, we're going to do RAII. We're going to talk about how RAII helps you do exception safety. And it's like, what the hell is RAII? Well, if you don't know, you've just alienated your audience. And I'm sure he felt the same way about MAME. He wasn't trying to keep it a secret what it was. He just assumed everybody knew what it was. Right? So anyway, that was my happy moment, if you will, because I was delighted to see that and contacted him. I'm really glad to have him at the conference. It's great to have another point of view. It's going to be, I think, a cool talk. And if you listened to the interview in CppCast, which, as always, they bring out some interesting stuff. It was a lot of fun. So, and by the way, completely forgot to mention, Rob and Jason will be doing a session at CppCon about what they've learned doing all these interviews at CppCast. So I think that's going to be fun. And we're also going to have a session. Do you remember when I scheduled this? Tuesday over lunch, I think, is going to be the community session. So
yes,
I
that's
think
what I heard.
Jens will be talking. You can't get me to shut up, of course, but I think we're going to get Rob and Jason there. We're going to get people at other user groups. So if you're interested in running a user group or hearing about people doing it, and even if it's not a traditional user group like meetings, that's why I always say community rather than user groups, because I think what Rob and Jason are doing is really good for the community. We might even talk about CppChat, who knows?
Yeah, but the one point which you just said is also one thing which I'm thinking a lot about, is just what is the focus or the side from the audience that is in your talk setting. And as my talk is parallel with like John Lakes, SDL, Howard Hinnant, and 3 other guys, I think a lot about what will be the level of the audience that comes to my talk. And on the other hand, you also have to see like the original concept and what you want to say on the talk, and that a big part of the audience is in the recording then later. So I want to kind of keep it interesting for both levels.
I know that it's hard to, when you see the schedule, hard to not think about who you're up against, but I kind of think of it as, just don't worry about who they are, what they are, because you may have someone who comes to your talk and you'd say, wow, why didn't they go to Howard's talk? Well, maybe they've heard Howard's talk before on that, and as much as they enjoyed it, and you'd think they would be there, they wanted to come to you. So I just say, don't worry about them. Also, a point
Well, it's not that I worry about it. It's just that I think about it.
Well, the point that Scott Myers makes, and I think it's very true, and this is maybe not in the early days, but today, where we video everything and put it on the net, and people expect that the truth of the matter is that the people who are in your audience are the smallest part of your audience, right? The truth is you're going to get thousands of views.
Yeah.
Even
I
this little
still
show.
get emails about. I still get emails about my benchmarking talk from last year every now and then, and I think I get more feedback from people who've watched videos than I did from people at the conference.
Sure. The people at the conference, we see them, and they make an impression, and you hope to please them. You'd like to have applause at the end or have good questions, but the truth is that you're reaching many, many more times than that. And so if you think about, oh, well, I know the people here, they didn't go to this other conference or this other talk, hear this other speaker, so I know what they're really interested in, I'll play to them, you're probably, not missing out. Anyway, I'm dragging us way past our deadline. I apologize for that. But
as I'm sure you know, John, the battery life of my laptop is just enough to last through this 1 hour session. So it's about 5% left. So that's your timer.
About time for us to all say safe coding.
Safe coding.
Yes.
And hope to see you at CppCon.
Anyway, I do plan to do another talk every weekend. So we'll do another CPP chat, but I plan it in that vague, we'll do it sort of way, not in the sort of way that thinks that implies I actually thought for 1 minute about when or where we would actually do this. We might figure out how to do one that's completely live instead of over Google Hangouts, which, by the way, I don't know.
The more important question, John, is are we doing one next weekend?
That's what I'm saying. Yes, I'm planning to do one next weekend. Not sure exactly when or how, but yes, that is the plan.
Assuming no fires or rescue kittens.
Assuming no rescue kittens. So it's time to say safe coding.
Safe coding.